For our anniversary, my sister sent a letter. My husband read it first and said, "Burn it." I didn't. I'm not someone who expects much on anniversaries. No candlelit dinners. No dramatic bouquets or Instagram posts with matching mugs. 7 years in, Daniel knows I'd rather sleep in than be serenaded. So that morning, when I came downstairs in pajamas and found coffee already brewed, it felt exactly right. Comfortable. Predictable. The kind of quiet love that doesn't ask for applause. Then he opened the front door. Just for a second. To let the cat out. That's when he saw it. A pale cream envelope, placed neatly in the center of our welcome mat. No postage. No return address. Just my name, written in handwriting I hadn't seen in years.
He bent down,
Picked it up slowly, like it might go off in his hands. I was pouring milk into my coffee when he stepped into the kitchen and held it out.
"Don't open this," he said.
I laughed. Thought he was joking. Thought maybe it was one of those prank cards that played obnoxious music or sprayed glitter. But Daniel didn't laugh. He just stared at me. "Burn it," he said again, quieter. "Don't read it." I blinked. "Why?" He looked down at the envelope. Then at me. His voice didn't rise, but something in it changed, like a thread pulled taut. "If you read it, everything shifts." I should have listened. Maybe. But curiosity is a quiet kind of hunger. And it was my name on the front. So I slid my finger beneath the flap, unfolded the single sheet inside. No date. No signature. Just one sentence, handwritten, looping letters I recognized immediately. "He chose me first. But you're the better mother." I didn't feel the coffee cup slip from my hand, but I heard the porcelain shatter. And in that silence, something inside me cracked open, soft at first, like paper. Then louder. Not fear. Not yet. But recognition. Of a voice I thought I'd left behind. I picked up each shard of porcelain, trying to stay calm, like if I moved slowly enough, everything might fall back into place. "Another performance, huh?" I said, forcing a dry laugh into my voice. Laura and her unsolicited theatrics. Daniel didn't answer. I looked up. He was standing still by the kitchen counter, gripping the edge so tightly his knuckles had gone white.
"Daniel," I said.
"You don't actually believe this, do you?" Still no response. I placed the last piece of the broken cup onto a towel, wiped my hands, and stepped closer. "Wait, is this real?" He didn't look at me. He looked at the letter, like it was still speaking. Then he said it. "I'm sorry." Just those 2 words. But not a single one of them was denial. "No, don't believe it." "No, you're misunderstanding." "No, it's not what you think."
"Just sorry."
And that silence chilled me more than anything else. I looked at the letter again. Just one line. No signature. No trace. But it didn't need one. I recognized the handwriting. It was Lara's, the same script I'd seen on empty birthday cards taped to gifts that were always too perfect. "He chose me first. But you're the better mother." That wasn't a joke. It wasn't petty jealousy. It was a statement.
Cold. Sharp.
Intentional. And Daniel didn't argue. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. "He chose you." I echoed, like saying it aloud might make it sound absurd. Still, he said nothing. I turned away, walking slowly toward the dining table where my coffee cup had been. Now there was only a pale ring of water left behind. I leaned against the chair, trying to steady myself, not physically but mentally. The thoughts in my head were starting to crack open. I used to believe that everything with Laura was in my head, that I was being too sensitive, that I was reading into things unfairly. But now, with just one line in ink and 2 words from my husband, all of it every time I'd felt something off, every glance that lingered too long, every cryptic comment from my mother, it all started to fall into place. And the picture forming wasn't something I had imagined. It was something I had always known, but hadn't let myself admit. I used to think all sisters were some variation of us, a fragile one and a strong one. But maybe we were a little more extreme. Laura is 3 years younger than me, but it never felt like that. She always felt smaller, not in stature, but in the way people spoke to her.
Softer.
Slower. like she might break if handled too roughly. She cried easily. That was her gift. That was her currency.
And it worked.
When she failed a math test in high school, my parents called the teacher unreasonable. When I failed the same test a year earlier, they said I should have studied more. When she forgot someone's birthday, she was busy or overwhelmed. If I forgot, I was selfish or too absorbed. She didn't have to ask for special treatment. The world just bent that way around her. I was told I was the strong one, reliable,
Steady.
sensible, which in family language meant you can handle being ignored. So I did. I handled it, and I kept handling it year after year until handling became my identity. Still, when we grew older, I hoped things would shift. That time and adulthood would smooth the edges. That maybe I'd get to be seen for something other than my endurance. But then came Daniel. I met him at a mutual friend's wedding. He asked if I liked olives. I said no. He handed me his plate. It was dumb, charming, and real. He was real. We built something slowly, carefully. 6 months in, I took him home to meet my family. He did everything right. Asked my dad about his coin collection. Helped my mom fix a jam drawer. Said please and thank you, without sounding rehearsed. Everyone seemed charmed, except Laura. She was quiet. Too quiet. She sat through dinner like a guest at the wrong party. Her smile never reached her eyes. Her questions came late and flat, like she was translating from a script she didn't believe in. When Daniel stepped outside to take a call, I asked her if something was wrong. She shrugged.
No. He's fine.
Just unexpected, maybe. Unexpected? I didn't know what she meant then. But I remembered how her fingers curled tight around her fork. How she didn't ask me a single question about him. Not how we met. Not how I felt. Nothing. I told myself she was having a bad day. I wanted that to be true. But after that, she was always around. She offered to help plan the engagement party. Took over the playlist, said she knew Daniel's vibe better than I did. She found the perfect caterer. Sent us vision boards. Dropped by unannounced with fabric swatches for napkins. When Daniel got a cold 3 weeks before the wedding, she made him soup. From scratch. I hadn't even known she could cook. She bought him a tie. Not just any tie. A designer one. Said it would look perfect with his suit and his eyes. I thought it was sweet at first. A little much, maybe. But she was excited. That's what I told myself. That's what everyone told me. You're lucky your sister cares so much. No one saw the way she looked at him when she thought no one was watching. No one noticed how her smile would falter whenever he kissed my cheek. She gave a toast at our wedding. Told everyone how happy she was for us. How Daniel brought out a softness in me that she'd never seen before. It sounded like a compliment, but it felt like a warning. And still, I ignored it, because that's what I'd been trained to do. To be strong. To be reasonable. To give grace. She was my sister, and I was the one who always understood. But now, sitting here, staring at that single line in her handwriting, he chose me first. But you're the better mother. I realized something. Laura didn't write that to hurt me. She wrote it because, in her mind, it was true. A truth she'd been waiting years to say. And Daniel hadn't denied it. Looking back, I think the scariest part is how normal it all felt until it didn't. It wasn't some grand betrayal.
It was smaller than that.
Quieter. Camouflaged in ordinary moments. The kind of things you only recognize when you line them up side by side, and suddenly the pattern becomes unmistakable. Like the photo. One of our wedding photos, the one I loved most, went missing about a year after the ceremony. We'd had it framed in silver, placed on the hallway shelf just beside the bathroom. Daniel thought it was too sentimental, but I didn't care. In it, I was laughing mid-laugh, and he was looking at me like I was the only thing in the room. Then one day, it was gone. I figured maybe the frame cracked or the cleaning lady had knocked it over. I asked Daniel. He shrugged. Said he hadn't noticed. A month later, I was helping Laura move apartments. She'd asked for help packing. Said she was overwhelmed. I pulled a box out from under her bed. It wasn't sealed. Just one of those shallow moving boxes full of scarves, old journals, forgotten things. And there it was. Our photo. No frame. Just the print. Bent slightly at the corners.
She saw me see it.
And before I could ask, she said, "Oh, I meant to return that. I borrowed it for something." Borrowed it for what? But I didn't ask. Because I'd already learned, asking Laura questions just made you feel like the difficult one. Then there was the hospital.
It was almost 2 years ago now.
I was pregnant. Not far along. Just starting to think about names. And then one night, pain, panic, blood. Daniel was out of town. Laura was the one who answered when I called. She rushed me to the ER, held my hand the entire time. Told me I was brave. That it wasn't my fault. She even argued with the nurse about my pain meds. For a moment, I felt grateful. Like maybe I'd been wrong all along. Like maybe this was what a sister was supposed to be. Until my mother showed up the next morning. She didn't ask how I was. Didn't hug me. She just looked at Laura, then at me and said, with this strange sort of half smile, "Maybe Laura will be the one to give us a grandchild after all." She said it like a compliment. Like comfort. But it felt like erasure. I was still in the hospital bed. Still bleeding. And somehow I was already being replaced. Then there was the text. A few months ago, I borrowed Daniel's iPad. I was trying to book a flight, and my phone was dead. A message popped up on his screen. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. "I miss when it was us. You chose me, remember?" I stared at it for a long time. Felt my stomach curl inward. Daniel walked in and saw the look on my face. He took one glance, then sighed. So casual. "Silly spam," he said. "They've been sending weird texts all week." And I believed him. Not because it made sense, but because I wanted it to. Because it's easier to believe a lie that keeps you whole than a truth that breaks everything open. But now that the lie has crumbled, I see it all for what it really was. Breadcrumbs. They were always there. I just didn't want to follow them. I waited until the house was still. Not silent, still. There's a difference. Silence is absence. Stillness is the moment before something shifts. Daniel was rinsing a plate, sleeves rolled up, water running slow over his hands like nothing in the world had cracked open. But I had. I stood there in the doorway to the kitchen, holding the letter. Not gripping it. Not waving it. Just holding it like a weight that had finally settled where it always belonged. He noticed me watching and gave a small smile, like we were still in some version of normal. "Everything okay?" he asked. I didn't answer that. Instead, I asked, "Did you love her?" There wasn't even a beat of confusion. He dried his hands, turned the water off, exhaled. Yes. It was too easy. Too honest. And that honesty stung worse than anything else could have. "How long?" I asked. "How long were you and Laura something?" "A few months," he said. "Before you and I." "And my parents knew?" His shoulders dropped a little. "They did." I let that sink in. The people who raised me, who toasted our wedding, who said I looked radiant walking down the aisle, they already knew he'd loved my sister first. They said nothing. Because apparently I was the easier fit. "You weren't going to tell me?" I asked. "I didn't think it mattered anymore," he said quietly.
"He chose you."
"No," I said. "They chose me. And you agreed." He stepped forward, stopped himself. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it?" He ran a hand through his hair, like he was trying to rearrange the right version of the truth. Laura couldn't have children. That's what the doctors told her. And your parents thought it would be too hard for her. That I should think about the future. About building something stable. That word, stable. It always meant me. Not special. Not adored. Not chosen. Just solid. Predictable. Convenient. So marrying me was what? I asked. Plan B with a good uterus? His face twisted. Don't do that. I'm not the one who did anything, I said. I'm just finally reading the footnotes. He looked like he wanted to say something, to reach for some softer version of a story. But nothing came. And maybe that's what broke me the most. Not that they lied. but that no one even tried to make it sound better. They all just expected me to carry it, like I always had. "Do you love me now?"
I asked.
"Yes," he said instantly. I nodded. "But I wasn't your first choice." He hesitated. That tiny pause, barely noticeable. But I noticed. That's what I thought. I didn't cry, didn't raise my voice. Just stood there, feeling the pieces of myself rearrange into something sharper. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For telling me the truth. Finally. It makes things easier." He looked confused. Scared, maybe. "What do you mean easier?" I looked at him. Really looked. And I saw a man who had convinced himself that what he did wasn't cruel, just practical. A man who thought quiet betrayal hurt less than loud honesty. "I mean, I'm done," I said. Not a threat. Not a performance.
"Just the truth," said plainly.
And then I walked past him. The kitchen smelled like lemon soap and warm ceramic. The cat lifted its head and blinked at me like I'd disturbed something. I picked up my coat from the chair, phone from the counter, and left the letter on the table. Still open. Still bleeding. I didn't scream. Didn't slam doors. Didn't ask why, not because I didn't care, but because I already knew. Some truths don't arrive like revelations. They creep in, slow and silent, like a draft under the door you stop noticing until you're already cold. The morning after I left the letter on the counter, I sat down at the desk in our guest room, the one we never used, and started typing. Not to explain. Not to accuse. Just to gather the fragments.
Names.
Places. Moments. A photo found in the wrong bedroom. A hospital visit steeped in misplaced. Comfort. A message that should never have landed on Daniel's device. The way my mother once looked at me. Not with pride, not with love, but with calculation. It wasn't a story. It was a record. And I needed it all in one place.
To see it.
To accept it. To stop rewriting it every time someone said, they meant well. When I finished, I printed everything. Organized it by date. Clipped screenshots to transcripts. Included a copy of the handwriting, hers, not mine, because I knew my mother would pretend not to recognize it. I boxed it up. No ribbon. No note card. Just a label with her name. Inside the lid, I taped one line. "This version of me no longer exists." Then I sealed the flaps and dropped it at the post office without looking back. No hesitation. No trembling. Just release. That evening, I emptied a single suitcase.
Clothes.
Chargers.
My passport.
One mug I actually liked. The rest could wait, or be forgotten. I signed a short-term lease in a part of the city no one in my family visits. A walk-up with a broken intercom and a rooftop view that made up for it. The floors creaked. The pipes groaned. But the quiet was mine. The next few days moved like soft weather. I woke up without alarms. Tied my hair into knots. Opened windows even when it rained. I bought a second-hand bookshelf and filled it with titles I had once abandoned halfway. Too tired, too distracted, too small. Now there was space. No one knocking. No one asking me to explain myself in ways that made me feel smaller for trying. No Laura. No Daniel. No family meetings disguised as interventions. Just stillness. Occasionally my phone would buzz. Blocked numbers. Unanswered emails with subject lines like "please" or "just talk to us."
Delete. Archive.
Silence. They'd used my steadiness as a shield. Turned my calm into compliance. Mistook my ability to endure as permission. But now I knew better. Resilience is intolerance. And forgiveness, without acknowledgement, is just another form of erasure. So I stopped performing. Stopped making myself available for roles I didn't audition for. Stopped carrying guilt that was never mine. That choice didn't feel loud. It didn't feel powerful. It felt clean. Like the air after a storm. Like waking up and realizing you'd been holding your breath for years and finally, it's over. A year passed. Quietly. No drama. No letters. No grand gestures of apology. Just time. Then one afternoon, my phone lit up with a message from a number I hadn't blocked, but probably should have. Laura had the baby. If you want to meet. No punctuation. Just a space. Like the sentence hadn't finished. Like they were waiting for me to complete it. I stared at it for a moment. Not with anger. Not with sadness. Just stillness. Then I tapped delete. No reply. No reaction. No wait. I made tea. Sat by the window. The light was coming in softly, the kind of light that doesn't ask questions. And as I lifted the cup to my lips, one thought came to me. Clear, calm, final. They always said I was the strong one. So this time, I'll be strong for me. If this story stirred something in you, if you've ever stayed quiet just to keep the peace, leave a comment and let me know you're out there. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because next time, the silence breaks louder.